Hi, my name is Sheila Corona. Welcome to New Light Streaming Love and Sassy Seer Sheila, as this will be seen on both channels. For some reason, I'm feeling nudged to include today's date. This is Wednesday, June the 11th, 2025. I normally am not nudged to do that with Jason's work, so not sure why. This is the first one of his writings that I was nudged to record today, and it is an older one of his writings that, again, I'm not nudged to read these to myself first. I generally know immediately just by the title if it's something that I'm supposed to record. And I say supposed to because it's a feeling that I get. So at any rate, this is The Crown Never Left: How North America Became a Corporate Colony Hidden Beneath Flags, Laws, and Illusion by Jason Gray. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that Jason is a Canadian, not a United States resident. They told us the wars were won, that democracy triumphed, that we were free, Canadians and Americans alike. Freedom printed on paper is not the same as freedom written in law. Somewhere beneath the surface of every flag, every anthem, every parliament or Congress, the crown still ruled. You were never told this. You were never meant to find out. Now you will. The illusion of independence. In 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed. By 1783, the Treaty of Paris formally ended the war. I'm sorry, not formally ended the war between Britain and the colonies. Look deeper, much deeper. The treaty was signed with King George III, who was still referred to as Prince Elector of the Holy Roman Empire and Arch Treasurer of the Germanic Confederation. The U.S. was described as, quote, free, sovereign, and independent states, not a unified nation. In Canada, the illusion was even stronger. Canada officially became a nation in 1867, but its head of state remained the British monarch. To this day, the Governor General appointed by the Crown must approve laws before they are enacted. The oath of office taken by Canadian MPs, it is not to the people, it is to King Charles or the reigning monarch. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms enacted in 1982 is still tied legally to the monarchy. Neither nation fully severed the crown's grip. The chains simply changed form, from canon to contract, from monarchy to money. What the crown really means. The crown is not just the monarch. It is a legal and financial empire. Its core is the City of London. The City of London Corporation, a 1 square mile sovereign city-state within London. It operates with its own police, its own laws, its own courts. It governs global banking power. This, quote, crown is not about royal tradition. It's about financial dominion, a centuries-old network of influence. It is the epicenter of empire, and it still touches both Canadian and American soil through central banks, commercial law, and unspoken contracts. Canada and the United States as corporate entities. Pardon me. In the US, the Organic Act of 1871 transformed Washington, D.C. into a corporate municipality, creating a separate legal entity. Quote, the United States of America, end quote, in capital letters. Citizens were turned into assets, and the Constitution was quietly overridden by contractual governance under maritime law. The Federal Reserve, a private banking cartel with ties to European banking dynasties, now controls U.S. currency. In Canada, in 1931, the Statute of Westminster granted legislative independence, but full constitutional independence wasn't claimed until 1982. Even then, Canada remained a constitutional monarchy, its laws requiring royal assent. Canada's Bank of Canada was nationalized in 1938, but quietly stopped lending interest-free to the government in 1974, after which the country began borrowing from private banks tied directly to Crown banking power. While both nations wave flags of freedom, they are legally, financially, and structurally tied to globalist institutions rooted in Crown power. The trinity of control. At the highest level, 3 sovereign city-states operate as command centers of the global systems. 1, City of London, finance. 2, Washington, D.C., military. 3, Vatican City, spiritual influence. These are independent from the nations they are within, governed by ancient law, tied to the Holy Roman Empire's legacy. This is the empire of illusion, still operating, still feeding on the sovereignty of nations, still disguising itself as progress and order. Canada and the United States are not exempt. They are central nodes in this web. How you are still paying the crown. Even if you don't see a bill from the monarch, you are still serving the system. Income taxes collected by CRA and IRS flow through systems governed by international banks. Birth certificates become financial instruments securitized on international markets. National debt is owed not to citizens, but to private banks, many of them with ties to institutions within the City of London. You do not own your government. You lease your rights. Every single election is a reset of the illusion of consent. Now, I want to stop right here because I know what he's saying is true. I began my awakening journey as a truther, what's known as a truther. Those folks that everybody wants to call conspiracy theorists. Just because it's uncomfortable to look at doesn't mean it's not true. And it's not hidden. It's easily found that what he is saying here is absolutely the truth. In 2017, 2018, I was witness to and an awful lot of things that took place. And I know what he is saying here is true. So back to his writing here. This is why it was hidden. If you believe you are free, you will not resist. If you wave your flag, you will not ask, whose castle is it protecting? If you pledge allegiance, you won't question who wrote the script. The illusion was perfect until now. Now people are awakening. People are finding out that this is a true thing. They have been called conspiracy theorists for the longest time. Trust me, I know. They are seeing beyond nationalism, beyond democracy, beyond red versus blue, left versus right. They are asking, who owns the land? Who owns the law? Who owns me? When you follow that trail far and deep enough, you will find one answer waiting at the end: the crown. The time to remember. The lie of freedom is cracking. The U.S. was never fully sovereign. Canada was never fully independent. The monarch was never dethroned, only hidden behind paperwork and finance. You are still sovereign if you remember. Freedom is not something granted. It is something claimed. Reclaiming it means burning the false altar, tearing up the unspoken contract, and remembering who you were before the crown ever claimed to rule. The crown never left. Neither did the truth. Neither did the flame. Neither did the fire. They wish it did. And he has here F3-G4 WE5-QH4 #B. Not quite sure. I'm sure that has something to do with a codex of some sort. It is a really deep rabbit hole. And for those who've never taken the opportunity or the time to even uh, look into it, here's the thing that always got me. As I was learning this kind of thing, folks would just poo poo it, but they wouldn't take the time to look for themselves. Oh, that can't be real. And they always tried to make me prove what I took all the time to read and find out for myself. Well, that's not a very sovereign way to go about business, is it? I gave up that whole thing of trying to prove what I took all my time to read and find, because no amount of proof will convince someone who really doesn't want to know or doesn't care enough to try to find out. Most people feel that there's something they know isn't right. Everybody on this planet can feel that something isn't right. When I first started awakening to the truth of what he's talking about right here, I was questioning, well, wait a minute, who decided? Who decided that they own everything on this planet? And why is it that we have to pay to live on this planet? Who decided all of that? Why did that happen like that? And then when I found out this, at first you get real mad when you find out that what you thought was a registry of your birth is actually a monetized way that they trade your energy back and forth. You kind of get real mad about stuff at first. But now it's like, it's just too funny to me. I'm a living being, not a corporate entity. So your individual mileage will absolutely vary. And if this is the first time you're hearing this and you just think I'm a crazy old lady and I don't know nothing, you're free to think that all you like. There will come a time, however, that you'll wonder if you aren't already wondering. At any rate, I hope that you will move towards that which you are drawn to, because there's something there for you. And if you feel drawn to look into this, I highly encourage it. There's plenty of stuff out there to show you the truth of all of this in these moments of now, because trust me, there's been a lot of deep diving on that subject. Until we meet again, my friends, be well.